Okay. All right. So, welcome everyone. This is the Curriculum and Learning Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. This is the School District of Menominee Falls Board of Education Curriculum and Learning Committee meeting. There is a possibility that a quorum of the full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings, including virtual meetings. There will be no full board action taken at any board committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the school district YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit the School District of Menominee Falls YouTube site. We are located in the School District of Menominee Falls District Office Conference Room 3344-3345 on Pilgrim Road in Menominee Falls, and it is 5:32 p.m. We call to order, and is the meeting been properly posted?
Yes.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the November 19th, 2025 committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion has passed. All right, so we have some exciting updates this evening. So secondary academic updates, and I know that we have been discussing this at the full board meetings, and I've been fielding a lot of questions about results and all the new information coming in. So we'll jump right in.
Yes. Good evening. We're excited to be here to share with you our annual academic update. We've broken it into two parts this year, so we'll focus on our secondary schools tonight, and then we'll focus on our elementary schools in January. So I have our principals here who are going to participate as well. We've got a lot of great information to share with you. So just a brief overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. First of all, we'll talk a little bit about the data sources that we'll be speaking about. I will do a general overview of the district report card. We're not going to get too deep into that one or the school report cards tonight, but we are going to spend a lot of time talking about the data that fuels the report cards and the academic data. But we will spend some time on the district report card. We will also hear from our high school on their academic data, and then our middle school as well. And then we'll finish up talking about benchmarking and just how we compare to the comparable schools that are the comparable school districts that we've looked at over time.
Sure.
Since I've been here in Menominee Falls, we have tried every year to, and actually before I came, there was kind of a data presentation, and I've really tried to keep it consistent over the years so that you could see the change over time. So whenever possible, we've really kept that consistency from year to year, just so we can see growth or change as we go. So first of all, the data sources that we'll be speaking about tonight. Our DPI report cards include three types of academic assessment data, and I'll talk a little bit in more depth here in a minute, but we'll talk about the forward exam, the pre-ACT secure assessment, forward exams taken by students in grades 3 through 8, and then 10th grade social studies. Pre-ACT is taken by 9th and 10th graders, and then ACT 11 is taken by our 11th graders. We'll also talk at the high school level about advanced placement data. We'll talk briefly about our Ames Web Plus, our early literacy screener, just in terms of the DPI report card, because that's a new piece. It doesn't fuel the overall scores, but it is noted in the district report card, so I'll talk briefly about that. And then we're really going to focus on the school goals and strategic actions that they're taking this year that will impact next year's school data. And wherever possible, we like to point out the bright spots. So we've got our little bright spot sticker, and you'll see that there are many, many bright spots this year, which we're really excited about. So just to review the kind of the testing that fuels the academic portion of the assessment or of the report cards. Again, grades 3 through 8 take forward in English, language arts, and math. 4th and 8th grade take science. 4th, 8th, and 10th take social studies. Pre-ACT secure, 9th and 10th, they take Multiple subtests and English and reading, for example, are put together to measure English language arts. ACT similarly, they take English reading and writing, and then that is merged together to make an English language arts score. Then math and science. And it is the same exam that's taken by students across the country for college entrance. And then we also have an assessment for our students with our who have the most severe cognitive disabilities. They take something called dynamic learning maps, and those results are folded into the DPI report card and the school report cards, but we don't break those out in any other reporting structure. They're very individualized to the students, and because we have such a small number of students who take those assessments, we don't report those results publicly. But they are, when you see those report card scores, you'll see that those scores are part of that work, so all students are included. All right, so now I could talk about our report cards for days. And if anybody ever wants to sit down and really dive into it, I'm happy to do that. So I'm going to try to keep the overview pretty high level. But when we get our district and school DPI report cards, we get scored in 4 areas: achievement, growth, something called target group outcomes, and the target group are our students with the lowest test scores, and then on track to graduation. So there are some key metrics that we look at for our students on track to graduation. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we dive in. Each of those 4 priority areas gets weighted a certain amount in the total overall score. Typically on track to graduation and target group outcomes each count for 25% of the score. And then achievement and growth gets counted based on our percent of students who are economically disadvantaged. So if you have a larger number of students who are economically disadvantaged, growth counts more and more heavily. And this past year, achievement was 37.5% of our score, and growth was 12.5% of our score. And then the other thing to note is, while we're going to really focus on the academics tonight for the purpose of the report card, attendance and graduation data also impact the report card. But that data is delayed by 1 year. So when you're looking at the 24-25 report card, the graduation and attendance data is from 23-24. The state doesn't collect that data until much later. For example, 24-25 data just got collected a couple of weeks ago, last week actually. So that will be on next year's report card. So that's just an extra complicating factor that's helpful to remember. There's a lot of cleanup in that end of the year data, so they give us time to give us time to make those adjustments. So that's how it works, but it doesn't make it any easier. But there's a reason. Every year, I think we hear about a few report card changes that they make, and I just wanted to highlight a few things that are a little bit different this year. The overall accountability ratings were updated, so the score you need to score significantly exceeds expectations or get that 5-star rating changed a little bit. Last year's range is on the far right, and then the new one here is on the left. So last year's range was 83 to 100, now it's 84 to 100. So not major changes, but enough that I wanted to make sure to note that. A couple other things of note: achievement. Our achievement data has 2 years of assessment results as a part of it. For a while we had 3 years, and then there were some changes and we had 1 year, and now we have 2 years. Next year we'll have 3 years again. So all of the achievement data is looking at scores from the 23-24 school year and then this most recent school year. And typically this most recent year is weighted most heavily, so it counts the most. I think we talked about this at the board meeting a little bit. They adjusted the norming to align with the growth rather than achievement, which means some of the things aren't as comparable to last year's data as they are this year. That did change some scores. I can get into a lot more depth with that, but I'm just gonna leave that here for now. And then for the first time, as I mentioned, because we have that early literacy screener, there is now a place on the report card that indicates how our third grade reading proficiency was based on that assessment. And there's also a place on the DPI or the district report card and the high school report card where they note certain state or local law violations. Again, won't get into that, but that is a change for this year on the report card. So a lot of conversation on can we compare scores from year to year? And yes and no. I think historically we have looked at scores from one year to another, even when there are changes, because people are curious. Where we are really focusing as a district right now is as we look at these different priority areas, we're looking at how our scores compare to other districts. And did we make growth among the big list of school districts? And we did. And so that's an indication because we're all getting the same metrics. Are we moving ahead? And we did this year, which we're really proud of. So that's exciting.
I can imagine how hard it is, especially with is it 1 year, 3 year, 2 year, like you're always looking at apples versus oranges, that it's tough to make that comparison, but you don't have another way to be able to say, are the changes that everybody's laser focused on actually having the intended outcomes, so.
So this is one way to do that. So are we making growth? Are we making more growth than other school districts? Yeah, because we're moving up in the ranking, so we'll take that as a win.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is a report that we've produced over a number of years. This is the most recent year compared to the just previous year. The most recent year to the just previous year, and how we rank in grade band comparison. So we do a little bit of filtering here, and again, this is something that was decided before I arrived and I've kept consistent. So for example, our district-wide rating here, we had an overall accountability score of 78.4, and so exceeds expectations. And when you look at K through 12 districts, remembering that we do have some K-8 districts in Wisconsin, we also have just 9-12 districts. We filtered those out, we're looking at K-12 districts. We ranked 58 out of 367, so we were in the top 16%, compared to last year when we were in the top 29%. So it felt like that was really good growth. Again, that comparison, that's a huge success. So a bright spot. There you can also see where, and we'll talk about the high school and middle school here in a little more depth, but lots of bright spots in how we moved the system. High school in the top 7%, 6.1% compared to other 9 through 12. And I would say at 9 through 12 schools, and I would say those are comprehensive high schools. So we also within this do filter out charter schools who maybe are just serving a particular population of students. We have, and when you saw that report, we were in the top 10 high schools in Waukesha County, you'll notice that if you look just at comprehensive high schools, we would have been even higher because there are a handful of charter schools in there that maybe serve students who are just focusing on engineering or just focusing on health, and they're very small. And we've chosen for this report to filter out those charter schools because when we're looking at like who do we want to emulate, we want to look at other schools who have the same kind of fundamental purpose that we do. So if you pulled, and you can publicly pull the whole big report and you were trying to get these same numbers, that would be one piece you would want to pull out. Just, again, so lots of bright spots there that we're excited about. And then this is a longer view, and again, we'll look at this in a little more depth when we look at each school. So I'll just focus on the district here. These are the 3 pieces that we're going to talk about tonight. Again, the most recent score, the ratings category, and then how it's changed over the past few years. So for example, our district score increased by 7.4 points this past year. But we also know there are some changes to the numbers themselves. But this are the calculations. So this is the history. We also know that North moved a ratings category this year, which we're very excited about. So, all right. So now diving into these priority areas a little bit more, I did kind of star achievement here because we know they caution against a direct comparison from one year to another. But you can see, I've got this year's achievement here at the top, got English Language Arts. The blue bar is how we score, and the gray bar is how we compare to other K-12 districts across the state. So you can see we exceed the state. And then well, first of all, last year's achievement score is here, and again, we caution against a direct comparison. But also on the right here is this year's kind of ranking with the state. So we score the same or higher than 81.6% of the districts. Last year, we were as good or higher than 80% of the districts, so a little uptick in where we were. So this is what I talk about when I mean ranking. This is really what I'm looking at, so you can see that growth. Speaking of growth, the second priority area is the growth area, where they're measuring how students are making progress, and are they making typical progress, more progress, or less progress than other students. This score is comparable from one year to another. So last year's score here is at the bottom, 66.9, and we scored the same or higher than 63.2% of the districts. And here's where you'll see a really nice jump. We have a score of 75.5. Again, we continue to exceed the state in our growth for English Language Arts and Math, and in fact, we scored the same or higher than 90% of K-12 school districts across the state. So that should have a really big bright spot there.
Forgot the sticker on that.
Yeah, I didn't add any stickers here, but yes, really need a big bright spot there. Then the target group outcomes, again, this is like a little mini report card that focuses on our students with the lowest test scores. So the idea is to help us close that gap. And this score isn't directly comparable again, but you can see in here what makes up the target score is the achievement score, the growth score of those students, and then chronic absenteeism, so students who miss more than 10% of the school year, and then the graduation rate of those students. And you can see that our ranking again changed dramatically. So last year we scored the same or higher than 47.7% of districts, and now this year we scored the same or higher than nearly 75% of them. So
That's significant.
another bright spot. And then finally for the last priority area, this is that on track to graduation. So again, another area, because it's got some achievement in it, we can't directly compare one year's score to another. But when we look at on track to graduation, we've got chronic absenteeism, we have actual graduation, third grade English Language Arts, because we know your level of proficiency. When you are proficient in English Language Arts as a third grader, you are more likely to graduate from high school. And eighth grade math is also an indicator of high school readiness, or high school graduation readiness, as well as college and career readiness. And so, again, some nice growth from where we were a year ago. We scored the same or higher than 75% of districts this year.
And this would have that shift in the math that we had implemented a couple, like 2 years ago.
Yes, that
So
would.
this is actually speaking volumes to saying, okay, we're gonna offer those pathways and really get kids where they need to be
Yes.
to succeed for graduation. Okay, that's great.
I'm impressed we're seeing the results so quickly.
Yes, so we'll take it.
Yeah.
There's always the risk too, we've talked about it, like it's one point in time, implementation dip is real,
It's the right trend.
but it's the
We're-
right trend.
We've
We
been sort
are
of hovering and
Yes.
maintaining, it's nice to see it go
Yes,
positive.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So again, just wanted to briefly mention on the district report card, there is that third grade reading proficiency score. We knew how our students had performed on the Ames Web Plus screener. We started that in winter of last year. We did screen in winter and spring. This was a screening of our 4K through third graders on foundational reading skills. But what we didn't know at the time was how we were performing compared to other schools and districts across the state. So our third grade rate of reading proficiency was 63.8, and across the state it was 50.3. So we know this is a part of that Act 20, that literacy law that we've talked a lot about, which has implemented new assessments and new professional development for teachers, et cetera. So
It'll be interesting to see what this number is next year.
correct, yes.
And I would anticipate that to go up even more so, given that extra support, but
Correct.
Type of familiarity, teachers'
yeah,
level comfort.
exactly, yeah. Mhm.
All of those things should impact it.
Yep, that's
Absolutely. So I did link in, and we'll make this presentation public now for anyone to see. I did link where you can go to our page on the district website where the report cards are linked, as well as DPI's report card resources where you can read for days about different pieces, the report card portal where you can download multiple years of report cards from any school or district across the state, and then they have a handy PDF guide if you really want to dig in. Again, I'm always happy to talk about it, but I try to keep it brief.
It's all right there.
It's all right here for anybody, and public and very transparent. So I don't know if people know that,
Sure.
but so I wanted to make sure I included those as well.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
with that then, we will turn it over to the high school because they've had some really great results. So I will just kind of drive and give you the high sign when you're ready to move on.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you for being here, Mr. Bennett.
Yeah, we're glad to be here. No, it was, we were just super excited and we'll talk about our goals at the end. And our goals really this year are continuations of what we did last year. I think we're just improving upon what we've done because we really feel like the sky is the limit at the high school right now. So it was fantastic to see those numbers, to see us in the top 6% of high schools in the state for the school report card. We're close to that, significantly exceeds expectations, and it's definitely a goal for us to hit that. This high school was at that at one point, and we know through our efforts that we can get back there and everything too. So go to the next one. So the next one is our pre-ACT secure for 9th and 10th graders. This is our ELA. You can see where the performance level update was for the last 2 years is when the state changed those, so we can look at the last 2 years a little bit more accurately to compare the two of them. But this is grades 9 and 10 for ELA, a nice increase at the high school level by 2%. Our goals are usually that 2 to 3% per year that we're trying to complete or to increase our students who are at that proficiency zone and everything like that. So outpacing the state and view with the new SAVIS curriculum and our school-wide goal through disciplinary literacy, those two pieces together, we think had a great impact on that piece. The next one. And this is just that same one, but it's broken up by grade level. So our freshmen went from 60% to 65. Our sophomores went down 1%, so an area of interest for us, absolutely. But looking at it school-wide, we are still moving in the right direction in that piece right now, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard me talk to in past years, maybe 1%, not significant, I mean, one way or another, I don't get too excited about 1% up and I don't get
I just
too
say
worried.
congrats to the freshmen for being locked in and carrying
Yeah.
the sophomores. I mean, everybody likes some healthy competition.
There you go, excellent point.
It was a well-prepared class coming in though, our freshmen last year.
Good.
For sure. So, I mean, kudos to the middle school and the efforts over there. We're seeing, and mathematics is an interesting piece too, especially when we go down to the breakdown. We do continue to outpace the state, 67% last year, 68% this year. significantly higher than what the state is at. The next slide will tell you a little bit about where our cohorts are, and you can see that our freshman cohorts much higher than our sophomore cohorts there too. What we're seeing, and anecdotally, our math teachers are saying, wow, the freshmen who came in are more prepared for the high school math now. And that's a direct, it's gotta be a direct relation
For
to
sure.
the changes that they made over at North.
I think it just gives kids like the confidence and parents the confidence that you're aligning the kids to the skills for where they're at, so then they have the confidence to grow and aren't playing that catch up, and we're not hearing parents having to like slog over homework for
Mhm.
hours and evening.
Oh my goodness, yes,
So
that's.
you've heard a lot of that chatter suppressed with the optionality of math now that meets the kids where they're at, so that's great news.
Yeah, our teachers are talking about how do we actually increase the rigor now in Algebra 1, because of these changes. So the conversations that we're having are just, they're fantastic conversations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but both classes are still way above the state, and then are continuing to improve each year too. So that's a point of just absolute excitement right now too, so. Go to the next one. This is ACT for our 11th graders. Our 11th graders, for lack of better terms, just killed it last year. I mean, they were amazing. And it's interesting because the 11th graders last year was the group that I had as 6th graders at North, and I have literally been with them for the last 7 years. So to see like the
Yeah,
full
that's so
circle
fun.
through, you know, the COVID piece to where they are now, to see that jump in English language arts, we saw a full point, maybe a 1.1 increase in just our reading ACT scores from it was the biggest jump. And the year before that, we had nice jumps everywhere except for reading.
Sure.
So, I mean, Savis is gotta be a big part of that. Along with, again, like our collective efforts with our disciplinary literacy piece. It was just an all-in year at the high school and at the middle school for ELA. So to see this it was just so exciting for our school and for that class specifically.
So I feel like as we're looking at this, a big shout out needs to go for the teachers for like hanging in and embracing, hey,
Yes.
adopting all the new
Yeah.
curriculum, teaching the new way, because some of them hadn't necessarily taught this way. And part of it is this data lags all those changes, and so you're just like, I remember keep doing temperature checks, like how are they doing, are they hanging in there? Because you know you're doing all the hard work and then the data's coming out and it's not reflective of the stuff that's actually happening in the classroom. And so to be able to see the results come through, and I'll be honest, this is earlier in the process than I would have thought, so I'm thrilled. But I'm more happy that teachers are like, we're seeing the payoff, that all of this was worth it, and just to hear that people now want to increase rigor means you're seeing that it's working and you're getting the engagement with the students and then they're getting the sense of achievement. Awesome.
And I think I shared at one of our board meetings that as I was sharing with our rep from Savas, that we did see nice growth. And she's like, that's great, not everybody sees that in the first year. And so that was like extra reinforcement. I'm like, okay, this is good, yeah. So, yeah, our teachers, our principals, our coaches, everybody's done a fantastic job, so I'm really pleased.
Yeah, there was a significant, just a comprehensive approach to that piece, the coaching piece, with our in-building coaches, helped support teachers during that time, because it was a challenge. But when we were able to put up these ACT scores in front of them, it was like, okay, just validation immediately.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's just like a collective sigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, it's working.
I know I sighed. I did too, it was really good.
Anyone who didn't like Savas at that time, just stop talking about it.
Oh,
that's right, that's true.
You
Oh,
listened to
yeah.
the talking and now you're like, okay.
Well, and the conversations that we've had
Change is
with
hard.
teachers though is, yes, change is hard, but they've actually seen it in the class. And the kids even said the first year, like, wow, this is a lot more difficult. You know, a little bit of grumbling, and now the grumbling it's just not existent anymore, because this is just how we're doing business. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I did talk with a couple of kids last year, it's a lot harder. It's like, well, that makes me happy, I realize
Right.
it doesn't make you happy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we'll get there, it's just gonna take time, it won't feel as hard always, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So math, again, a 3% jump, outpacing the state. And I mean, there's anecdotal pieces in the high school. Our comp sci team, at the board, you saw how they won their competition. We had a second place regional team for a math competition. Our math program is strong and robust. We have 2 new teachers this year who have just stepped in and just hit the ground running. That team is super dedicated. Brenda Larson's the curricular chair, and she's always looking, how do we continue to
I saw
improve
a
that?
bus return from a math competition and it was full. And I was like, how do we get this many kids into the math competition? And I had heard something like, there was an opportunity to earn some extra credit. I'm like, who doesn't want that in math? Especially if you've got some competing at the higher levels. I'm like, that's awesome, because the engagement was through the charts.
Yeah.
That was great to see.
And when
She
you
does a
do
good
so
job.
well at those competitions,
Correct.
it's like the extra credit you throw out the door, hey, we're winning things,
Right.
we're,
And now I have swagger.
my 2 children go to Brookfield East, and we beat Brookfield East at that.
Ah.
So anytime I can go home and talk about those things,
We may have
All
to
about
do
it.
football this year. We've lost in soccer and basketball.
we're gonna take the math competition.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
As a principal, that's my favorite one,
Yeah,
so.
right.
That's true.
That's awesome.
No, we didn't beat Sweet Central.
In science, again, outpacing the state and a 6% increase. Our science team, so something we'll talk about later, how we kind of prepare students for the ACT too, but our science team really goes above and beyond that expectation too. So this is fun to talk about these bright spots, so.
Absolutely.
And then you can see that we're on a 3-year increase from 22-23 to where we are now at 21.3. Our goal is to get back to that 22 eventually. Like, we know we can do it. We've got somewhere we can definitely make it there. We're happy that we're outpacing the state, but we want to be even more competitive with our Waukesha County neighbors too. And then our students do take the forward test just for social studies. And you can see that we had a nice jump of 6% outside of what we had the year before, so.
We also have new social studies curriculum.
Yes. Which is going very well.
Yeah.
Winning.
Yes. So advanced placement, our AP courses is another point of area that we're really excited about this year. So it's our rigorous courses. Students can earn college credit for those. They can option to take the AP test at the end of the year. And if they get a 3, 4, or a 5, they can get potential college credit for those courses. So the next one will show you what are a little tiny to see, but beautiful. We had 87% of our students who took an AP test scored 3 or higher, which was really exciting. Yeah, when it was about this, it was about percent higher from the year prior. I mean, 35.8% of our students are taking place. This year, those numbers are even higher. We are reaching out to students who have grade point averages that are higher that may not have taken an AP course, and suggesting, like, even if you're not planning on going to college someday, you have the grade point average, you have the aptitude, challenge yourself while you're here at the high school. So we are trying to increase the participation in those tests, because we know that any student who completes an ACT or an AP test has an even better chance of going off to higher education, whether it be a 2, 4-year college, whether it be anywhere, and be successful too.
Do we have the data on just because I took the class means I took the test? Is that usually a 1-for-1, or is there some percentage of people that take the coursework, take the final, but don't take the AP exam?
There are a few that don't take the AP exam, and it could be for
A variety of
a
reasons.
variety of different reasons. We really do encourage our students to take the test. If you look at even statistics, if a student gets even a 1 or 2 on that test, them being in that, if they choose to go to college afterwards, they are most likely going to be very successful in that class moving forward too. So we do really encourage our students to take those, and we try to lean on our statistics. Hey, your teachers are doing a nice job preparing you for these tests. 85+% of students are getting 3 or higher. And honestly, when I hear and we look at our data, the stories who aren't doing that, it's oftentimes students who have not engaged fully in that,
Sure.
which we try to catch and grab, but we're looking at an 85% pass rate as a real positive.
It's a huge one, that's great.
So on this one has all the tests and pass rates. You'll see some have different pass rates, and we always look at those two pretty critically. Our AP Calculus had a lower pass rate than it has in the past. That we did have a larger amount of kids take the class because we had such success from what we understand, what we believe is an AP Pre-Calculus, which was added. Our AP Pre-Calculus, I think it's like 93% or something, like 95% are getting a 3 or higher in that class. So those numbers just keep growing every year too, and that's been a real exciting add to our building because we want to get more kids into our AP Calculus class too. So, but we always do look at those numbers and try to make adjustments as we go. Or if there's professional developments that we do send our instructors to also to continue to improve their abilities at teaching these classes. But again, very proud of those pieces. So this is the 10th year in a row. You can see our AP Scholars. Our AP Scholars are students who receive scores of 3 or higher on 3 or more exams, and then below are AP Scholars with honors and distinction. So there's additional distinctive marks that they can get, but you can see our numbers are even higher. Last year, we are going to see that number, I truly believe it's going to be even higher, if not maybe one of our records for next year. So we're super excited about seeing what's going to happen there. But that just shows you we have kids who participate in a number of different APs and are successful with those. So,
Question for you,
Yes.
Like the scholars and the distinction. When we say 3 and 4 or more of these exams, is that like someone taking 4 AP classes in 1 year, or is that cumulative?
I believe that's cumulative.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that clarification. I was like thinking, boy, we got some superpowers out there.
We do have
Do we have enough classes? Is this
I have been surprised by the number of AP individual classes that a student would take at one time, but yes, but I think that number is cumulative. But,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, our counselors do a really nice job too of like trying to balance that piece out too, because there is that life balance that kids do definitely need to hit. I've got a high school junior right now, and we're living that reality too. But no, we're really proud of that piece, and it's really like our teachers who are teaching those courses are so passionate about them and absolutely love teaching them, and they're collaborative with each other, and those are the pieces that really are helping us continue to move those numbers higher.
And I know some of the AP classes we've gone to like an every other year structure, so are we seeing that at all in terms of registration or attendance, or has that not been a big impact at all?
The only one we moved to every other year was AP Chem,
Okay.
and that we had it this year. We are not having it next year, so I don't really have good data on that piece. But that's the only one. We would love to see the numbers rise and have a course of that every year, and that's a piece that we're trying to work through right now. So.
Alright, perfect.
AP Honor Roll, last year we were a bronze school. This year they're releasing this information in January of 2026. Usually they give us that right away in the summer when they release the scores. They didn't do that this year, so we'll update you when we get that information. I expect that will be in that bronze zone. For us to get from bronze to silver is really to truly increase the amount of students who have not taken APs before.
Sure.
We get them to do that, so. We're on the brink.
Yeah.
So our last slides are just our goals and our strategic actions for this year. So going from ELA ready from 61 to 64% and math ready for 65 to 68%. So our students who are proficient and advanced, we want to continue to move our students up into those areas. With the growth that we've seen, and if we can sustain that, we should see those moves this year. So we are continuing to work on our disciplinary literacy work at school. We're working with Amy's department, we're working with North Middle School, just like we did last year. Right now, we're doing a lot of what are the students thinking, so trying, again, last year we did the getting more students talking in class. Now it's what are the students doing, who's carrying the cognitive load in that class. Those are the pieces that we're working on. Since this is our second year, all of our departments in the building have their own disciplinary literacy goal, and they're working with one of the coaches or one of the curriculum coordinators to draft that goal. We actually just reviewed them all a couple of days ago, so that's been exciting. Successful implementation of the new curriculum. We are still monitoring social studies and ELA, knowing that it is still new and there are still some little kinks to get out, but all indications that we are heading in the right direction right now. And then our last piece is directed Phoenix time. Our directed Phoenix time, last year we started with a pilot. Students in 9th and 10th grade who are getting a D or F were directed into the math class a number of different times until that grade increased. We saw that, I believe it was between 60 and 70% of those kids, once they went in there, got their grades from a D and an F into an A, B, or C. So we saw some real positivity with that piece. Interestingly, freshmen don't always want to make the best decision for their Phoenix time, so we're gonna help make that for them. Right now, we've implemented this with all of our core areas, so social studies, science, ELA, and math. And we're working out so that we have a lot more demand for kids right now, and we're trying to separate dates. So we're gonna take a look at how this is going. We're monitoring our Ds and our Fs right now to see if that is if those numbers are going down. Typically, we see a little bit of a spike at the holiday season, and then they start to get a little bit better as we're moving towards the end of the semester too. We are continuing this work though through the end of the semester. We're gonna take a look at it again. We'll continue it, but we'll make the appropriate changes as needed. And then what's not up there is some ACT prep work that we're doing. This year we're moving from sessions that students can select to they're doing goal setting, so they're gonna take a look at their results. They're going to look at areas that they might need to work in. They're gonna make decisions on what they're gonna do to improve upon their scores with that. We're gonna provide different student professional developments on all different things, ACT, from the months of February through March. We're also gonna have a big ACT half-day prep day on the day that we're doing the career fair. So the career fair is in the morning, our ACT prep will be in the afternoon. And then the week after that, they take the ACT and pre-ACT. And then Ms. Taylor is working with one of our target group. So from the school report card, our target group for the high school is anybody who's under the 29th percentile or lower. You wanna talk a little bit about what you're doing?
In ELA and math. And so just looking at that data, and we're gonna pull those students during their study hall the second half and do more targeted work. So after in English class, with all students are gonna set their goal. So they already have their data analyzed and already have their goal. And so they'll be pulled into the LMC for the second half of their study hall, depending on when they have their study hall every other day.
Sure.
And just doing some strategic work, so some overall, here's some test taking skills, some strategies. We have Peterson's test prep, that the whole school is going to be able to utilize, but helping them work through, you can target, so once they have their data, you can go in specifically and say they're struggling in geometry questions, they
Sure.
can practice filling those. So,
And is
using,
this targeted just for juniors then?
no.
For ACT or is this for everybody?
it's for every, all
Okay,
9
good.
through 11. And it's more of a pilot this year to really track that data and see if it's effective to grow it next year. So I'm really excited, yeah, it'll be, I think it'll be.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That's the first time we've really, we've made teachers aware of who's in that target group. We just haven't actually targeted something in that target group, which kind of sounds bad actually, because it's a target group, but this is our first step in moving forward with that, and that was Ms. Taylor's fantastic idea, and we're excited to see that for us, you know.
Those kids are getting love too, so
Oh,
good for them, whether they like it or not.
It's tough
But
love.
that they know that you're taking the time, I think does make a difference too.
And it'll be a smaller group set, you know,
Nice work.
And Mr. Bonner is our Avid coordinator. So yeah, Avid, basically what this is, advancement via individual determination. So we're focused 9th through 12th grade. We have an elective, year-long elective for each year, so 9, 10, 11, 12. And what it is it helps them hone in skills for 2-year or 4-year careers or college, or also getting them ready for a career if they decide not to go the college route. And so with this, 80% of students have A's, B's, and C's that are in Avid, compared to school-wide of 74%. So this piggybacks on top of everything that we've been doing with the Directed Phoenix Times and things as well. And then tying in with disciplinary literacy and purposeful talk. We have 4 goals for the year, which we're working through as disciplinary literacy being a piece of what we call WICR. It's an acronym that is writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. And that's one goal of tying WICR with disciplinary literacy. Another goal that we have is making sure that we have clarity and consistency among all Avid electives in order to also make a positive culture school-wide through that. The next goal that we have is making sure that we're continuing to partner with student services for courses of rigor. And that was a huge push. This year we actually have currently first semester 76% of Avid students are in courses of rigor, which means AP honors or one of our academies. Last year we were at 65%. So that was a big push for student services to be recommending those courses for Avid students. And then also another goal that we have is just having increased Avid college field trips to give them that experience, to expose them to campuses in the area.
And the potential, right? The
Yeah.
excitement,
Yes.
like this is something that is absolutely within your grasp, and if you work hard, then sky's the limit.
Absolutely. One last thing to highlight too with that is that we became a certified Avid school last year. And so we met all those areas of implementation, which we hadn't previously done, so that's showing growth in that area with our elective. And with those areas, like the areas of implementation, it would be like having more teachers trained for teaching the elective in our building, having tutorials where students are teaching their peers in order to like help answer some tough questions during those times. Regular team meetings is a piece of that as well because it is a regular elective. And then offering 9 through 12 electives, so keeping that on board. And then helping seniors get their profiles together for being able to bolster to the next section of whether it's a career or for a 2 or 4 year college. So we checked all those boxes and got our Avid certificate, and we're hoping to keep building on that with these goals this year.
Congrats, that's a lot of work. Does an Avid student also get to choose an academy, or are they in Avid so that, because I know some of the academies do go to schools, and so just curious if some don't, or hey, these are students that maybe haven't chosen an academy because they're not that far along in knowing what the next step is.
Sure. No, it can work hand in hand. And we
Okay.
have multiple Avid students that are in the educational academy. And I was just looking through that today where it's like they can definitely work hand in hand. This is just an elective to help them, when I look at it like tree roots, where it's like this class helps them so that way it will increase their knowledge base and everything, and the rest of the classes keep them organized, learn how to collaborate with other people properly, ask the right questions. And so, yeah, definitely they can be in both.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Did offer Mr. Bauer at some point, perhaps later on in the school year, if we want to really dive more deeply into Avid, it'd be something we could do as a discussion item when they're ready.
Alright, yeah,
So this is just one of our goals is always attendance, because we know how important that is with academic achievement. And so over the past few years at the bottom, you can kind of see, there's the dates. the last few years and the increase in our average daily attendance. And our goal is 90% or higher. Right now we're at 95.6% of students meeting that 90% or higher. So not missing more than 5 days a semester, 10 days a year. And we've just done a lot of work as a district with Dan Halverson trying to be consistent across the district. Our monthly attendance meetings we had today, being very consistent with those, and then putting in some very explicit tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 strategies to help with attendance. And as you can see, it's a slow process, but we're improving, so.
Yeah.
Well, what's nice in that picture is there's no like 2020 or 2021, so it's all like, has COVID really been that long ago?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's not gonna ever happen.
Yeah.
It fell off the grid, therefore it didn't count. 95.6 is awesome though, that's
really
great.
is.
I remember when
Yeah, well
like
done.
90 was the goal, so
Yeah.
that's impressive, good job.
Thank you, high school.
Thanks you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for
Five
taking the
minutes.
time to come in and update everyone on what's been going on, and obviously a lot to be celebrated, so.
I'm excited to introduce Kristen Higgins. I don't think you've been here yet to curriculum.
No, I have not.
Kristen is our new principal at the middle school, so.
Well, welcome.
Thank
Good to meet you
you.
officially.
Yes, you as well. Thank you. And you guys are gonna make this really difficult for me to come back to college, so thank you for having me today. Are we good? Can I dive right in?
You can dive right in if you need me to jump in at any point, because I know all of this happened before you got there,
I've inherited
I'm happy to.
much of this in a good. So, and I will apologize in advance. I am emceeing a concert and my call time is 6:50, so I don't want to stand up my children and families, so.
Do it.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Thank you.
So, as Ms. Rebo mentioned, this is my first year at North, so I cannot take credit for any of the wonderful news that I'm going to share with you this evening. However, I do have the pressure to keep these numbers where they're at and keep them going. So, I will start by saying I'm very proud to be able to come back and share this information with our staff, and we've done a great deal of celebrating, but it has also provided me as a leader in that building with some insight of what had been done in the past and what we need to keep our focus on. So that has really been the story of coming in this year and learning a new building and learning what has worked. And so as Dan and team have mentioned, really I will be focusing in on forward data as well as map data with you, and knowing that we will continue our eyes on disciplinary literacy 6-12. So starting off, I'm gonna share with you our overall accountability score at North, which was a 72.8, and as you can see, the little bright spot is highlighted there. That put North into the exceeding expectations category from the previous year, which was 61.7. So as a former principal in a high school of 8 years, I have never seen an 11.1 jump. So when I saw this, I was like, woo, this is amazing. So North not only had that huge jump, but also increased an entire category. So from meeting expectations to exceeding expectations. So in time, slowly our goal is to get it to that significantly exceeding expectations, but we're gonna take it one day at a time for certain. So I think what's also really worth noting is that this is the highest overall accountability score that North has had since that lovely year of 2020. So you guys thought it was gone. So I mean, that's another great indicator that things are moving in the right direction and we are getting out of that world of COVID that I don't think we want to go back to. We also moved up in the ranking from 33rd percentile, which is where we were at the previous year, up to the 55th percentile during the 24-25 school year. So
Good job.
I will tell the team.
In the spirit of everything that we apply to like teachers and having to adopt new curriculum, like the same is true for
Right.
North Middle School and even elementary school. Like I know they're not heavily as tested and measured, but we know that this was a Herculean all hands on deck approach.
Yes.
So
Yes.
our kind words go to the whole district, so.
Thank you. And that's gonna lead in nicely to specifically our forward data. So forward data, forward test is taken by 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So all of our students at the middle school are participating in the forward exam in the spring. As you can see with the bright spot, there was a significant increase, not only from our building from 23-24 into 24-25, from a 53% of our students either at that meeting or advanced category, but they jumped up to 61%. And what's really interesting to look at this particular slide is that when you compare that to the rest of the state, you can see that the rest of the state they remain stagnant from 23-24 to 24-25. So in the previous year, we were stagnant with everybody else at 53%. So what do I attribute that to? Status. And just in getting to know the building and our department, many conversations with our ELA department about how last year was so difficult with that implementation.
Right.
And how much easier it is this year going in with, the 6th graders progressing to 7th graders. And now, for example, the 7th grade ELA teachers are saying, okay, like, this is just the way we do business. And so they're really seeing that engagement and they're seeing students understanding this is how we learn, this is how we think, this is how we talk in our ELA classes. So great growth there. As the high school showed you, this next slide is going to take the overall ELA grade and then break that down by grade level. So you can then see this broken down by 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, and across the board, you can see that each grade level there was a significant increase. So super exciting. Transitioning over to math. So this is looking at the math forward data, again, 6th through 8th grade. So in looking at the North Middle School data as compared to the state, you can see that we maintained a distance above the rest of the state. So similar story here, the state remained stagnant at 54%, so did North, but we were still 14% higher than the rest of the state. So this is an area of interest for me specifically as well, but what I will say in comparison to ELA compared to math, the math department, the math students I should say, they were scoring already higher at a higher percentage. So while there's room to grow, there was less room for them to grow.
Sure.
So it's not at all saying that we don't have higher expectations and that we can't get them there. It's just saying that it's gonna take a little bit longer to see that growth.
Sure.
So again, still well above the state averages. And then on this next slide, again, broken down by grade level, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So our 8th grade saw significant outpacing of the state. 7th grade, our 7th grade stayed above the state results. 6th grade, not as wonderful here. We did have a significant drop, again, which is concerning to me and an area of interest. So the state as well dropped. So if we're making comparisons, that leads to some larger questions. What did that test look like? If it's not just our North Middle School students, we don't want to make excuses, but was it a more challenging assessment across the board? So I'll address this in my later slides and looking at our goals and strategic action plans and what we're doing to look at this drop. So what's different about the forward exam is that at the middle school level, only our 8th graders participate in science and social studies, which will be the next slide. So in science, you can see that there was a significant increase as well as outpacing the state. There's that theme again of the state remaining stagnant, as you can see on the right. And
lost a point. I don't know how you feel about points.
Well, especially
I feel like rounding at the state level probably is more significant than.
Yes, it's a large number, but I also, I don't get into the round, they rounded, so it might be closer than it looks.
That's true.
but again, to see that 9% increase, I mean, that's huge. Huge kudos to our science department, and they are on point, they do a wonderful job with our learners as well. So,
And I think all the departments, but I think I hear a little bit more about it in science, that when because we do get an opportunity we don't get the questions from the test, but we know how students did on standards, and we can see the themes across. They really dive in and think about how are they gonna impact their instruction the following year based on what they learned from that assessment breakdown, so.
thank you for bringing that up, Amy, and before I go on to social studies, I will say that this was something that we did as soon as we had access to the forward results. We did do an itemized analysis across all of our departments where we had that data, and specifically talking about the science department, the big area of focus for them was graphing, was the use of technology in simulated labs. And as Dan mentioned earlier, that has led the department into looking at their own goal for this year through the disciplinary literacy lens. So they really did, I mean, they came to the table during department meetings, and we looked through where were their biggest areas of growth. And so,
And obviously, I know that we're not teaching to the test, we're obviously teaching to life skills, but the assessments and the areas that they're focusing on and that they're scoring in the test, do you find that that's, I guess,
They align.
that they align and as far as seeing student success going on to a 2-year or 4-year
I mean,
in preparation
in
for that as the
preparation,
goal?
yes. In looking, again, in looking at that data and having a previous high school lens, looking at the areas in which we're trying to better prepare our children specifically at the middle school, a lot of it is, for example, is looking at the simulation of labs. So we're looking at how computers are, we can't keep up with the technology, right? So in us, okay, well, how do we incorporate this into the classroom? What do we do? What are we focusing in on? We know that if we can help our students score better in those areas, we're gonna help them better prepare for their life outside of the high school if they're looking at a career in technology. So we would certainly hope at the two, for sure. So, but again, it's been nice to see the departments make their own personal goals, department goals based off of that itemized analysis. In the final slide for Wisconsin Board, you can see that our 8th grade social studies, they have maintained distance above the state results, and we again are hoping to see some additional growth in this area next year as we go into what will be the third, right now we're in the second year of implementation. So we know that as our staff, they're becoming more comfortable and confident with the curriculum. We would expect to see these scores also rise with our students. But again, still well paced above the state significantly. 20%.
And by far the highest score in the 4 years since the social studies standard update, there's just been a steady increase there.
So with that, we have our middle school strategic actions as well as our goals. So we really, obviously, we focus in on our ELA and math college readiness, which are the first two bullets there. So our goal is to increase college readiness, 6-8, from 60.5% to 62.5%, as measured by the board exam. So how we're gonna get there? Again, we're going to continue our work with Amy Rebel's team in working across vertically, 6-12, with the high school in doing this work together as departments. And it's, again, as we mentioned already, each department has their own goal, as does ELA. So year 2 of implementation with My Perspectives. We are also utilizing a walkthrough tool in which we're going into the classrooms, we're looking at the fidelity, the use of My Perspectives in the classroom, and that is something that our whole administrative team as well as Amy's team participates in. So every classroom is receiving not only an ELA, but in all of our content areas, they're receiving that immediate feedback each and every month, minimally one time. We also have our coaches. We have Caroline Blackburn and Laura Foley who are helping to support coach in our building, which has been wonderful. And also with our year 2 of Nat Geo, with social studies, we know that in the area of humanities, that work oftentimes goes hand in hand. So, in terms of math, we are also looking to increase our math college readiness from 67.5% to 69.5%, again measured on the forward exam. And as I mentioned earlier, this is an area of interest for our building in just looking at what we can do to better support our students and, for example, not see that dip that we saw in 6th grade. So again, we're working tightly with our math course sequencing, looking at priority standards, which has been some heavy work, but some wonderful work this year. And one piece that we've been focusing on as well is using our star time. So that is our individual time where our students, we're looking at which students are strategically placed in which classrooms for additional support in both ELA and math. So this holds true for both of our first 2 bullets. So we've done extensive work with our interventionists, our coaches, administration. We are all involved in a day-long worth of conversation. We're diving into data. We're looking at map data. We're looking at academic grades. So our first data delve was in the end of October. And then we're also looking at teacher feedback. So we're looking at triangulated data to make course decisions and how do we best support our children. And we'll have our next DEL on January 20th once our winter map scores come in. So we're always trying to keep a pulse on our students and not waiting for that forward exam to get that lag data. We're always doing our best to look at that triangulated data to make sure that we are moving children in and out of the best placements for them based on the support that they need.
I just wanna be respectful on time, check at 6:40.
My goodness, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll hit on that last bullet to let the team know here that one of the things that we're doing in the building is we have a shared school goal. So all of our teachers, as we come together, we started in August, we talked about the work of our building leadership team, and we agreed to continue moving forward with the work that was done in the building the year previously. So all of our teachers, when we're doing all of our checks, our beginning of the year, mid-year, end of the year, everything in between, every teacher, you will find that we all have the same goal, which is to improve for all of our to move 60 to 65% of our students meeting their spring to spring math projected growth. So for example, we looked at where the students were in the spring of 2025 and NWAA, which is our MAP assessment, they will lay out a 1-year projected growth. Where do we expect our students to be 1 year from today? So those MAP scores, we are taking those results and we're gonna compare those to MAP in spring of 2026. And our goal is to see 65% of our students or more reaching their projected growth.
Yeah,
Good luck.
Thank you, we'll get there.
yes.
Okay, and then I feel really badly, like I don't wanna have to prioritize, but I think you guys would understand a little bit more if I bail on you. I am gonna just very quickly talk about behavior and let you know that this is a goal that we did put in place to be transparent with you in August, and we've backpedaled a little bit on this goal. So the goal was to reduce major behavioral referrals for our students compared to last year. The goal was to move that from 150 major referrals to 142. We absolutely believe in a strong culture and reducing major referrals in the building. But I will say that this number is skewed because I think we're at about 81 right now as of yesterday. We, myself and the administration team, we are really working hard on streamlining discipline, a process, and a system. So we are encouraging the use of more documented referrals.
Sure.
So I'm here to say we might not meet that goal. But
It's an accurate
correct.
temperature check and getting consistency going forward.
Correct, so we think it's really important to have a true picture of what is going on and to make sure that one teacher is not writing up for one thing versus another teacher is turning a blind eye.
Right.
We all want to be on the same page and we believe that feeds into culture and provides a consistent message to children, so.
I agree.
And then finally, attendance rates, overall, the building is doing really well. Our ADA, average daily attendance rate, we are at a 96.2. So again, the district goal is 90%. So happy to see that 96.2% of our students are on that pace to meet that goal. And we, as Christina mentioned, we do have our type process for monthly attendance meetings, which involves our counselors, our social workers, our APs, and we have a variety of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 interventions to support student attendance. And this is something that we also check each week through our student support team meetings where we meet, and we also have been using XPAC data to help support our data. We do lots of support, sorting of data, and we pull together attendance, behavior, and grades all in one. And someday I would love to come back and talk about how we do that, if Amy invites me back. But on that note, I don't wanna get fired from
No,
my
you need to go
jazz
to
ensemble.
MC Doc, thank you for
Thank you.
thank you
Thank you.
for your time.
No, you did a great job covering
Yes.
questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
Good momentum.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Lots of great things happening at middle school.
So,
Someone's doing a great job. So with that, we'll jump into this kind of last piece, which is a historical piece that we've tracked over the last number of years. We compare our progress and how our percent of students proficient on the state assessment in the various categories to what we call a comparable group of districts. So they're districts of similar size, they're K-12 districts, they have similar demographics to us, and we kind of monitor how do we compare, where do we rank? And so this is a little, I'm gonna have to pull back a little bit here so you can see. But to try and make it, we have 4 years of data here, so this is 6th grade English language arts forward results with this comparable group, and you can see the little yellow dot is where Menominee Falls has been over the last 4 years and where we are now. Now you also have to watch kind of how the percentage proficient and advanced changes over time because other districts are trying to do the same thing we are. So
you have to watch both the ranking and the percent. So you can see a bright spot here with ELA. We moved up a little bit both in percentage and how we compare to this comparable group of districts. And then we have math for middle school on the next page. And again, this is where, you kind of gotta look. Our percentage proficient and advanced didn't change, but somebody else's did. So again, a little healthy competition.
So I know that we're looking at math curriculum.
We're looking at elementary right now.
Elementary, that was my next question, is
Middle school and high
what
school
But
will
it'll
be
help
coming
that
up.
sixth grade, which was the
Coming
lower
in.
number, yeah.
Right.
Yes. So yes, so middle school and high school actually will be coming up pretty soon. It might even be that we start the process next year, so we'd be maybe 2 years out from considering new curriculum.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, we will start that process again. But yes, elementary, that's had the same curriculum for a while, that we'll be bringing a recommendation for pilot resources probably in February. And then we'll look at piloting in the fall. So a little bit different process for us because we've had the gift of time on this one, so. And then we get to, let's see, did I jump ahead? No, I'm okay. All right, 11th grade, ACT here for ELA, and you can see where we moved ahead. So another bright spot there among our comparable groups. And then ACT math. And our percentage increased, our ranking didn't change, but we did have a percent increase there. Science, ACT, increase as well as jumped over several other school districts there, so that's a good sign. And then the ACT composite, again, the composite increased as well as we moved up a couple levels there.
So gosh, Dan, I think you said you were hoping to get back to that 22 number and look at what a big impact.
Yes.
That's crazy that's such a small number, and look, all those people are crammed right in there, so
It's
Mhm.
great
competitive
work,
in this
yes,
area.
it is.
Yes, definitely.
No, that's a great story.
Yeah.
So that's the benchmarking that we've kind of historically looked at, so I wanted to keep bringing that forward as well, so. That was a lot of information.
Yeah.
What questions
It's a
do you
great
have?
story though.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, I think at least I can remember when this data's been presented to the board at a bigger level versus committee, I've always been like, is there a sense of urgency? And I do feel like all the hard work that's been done over the last 2 or 3 years to evaluate curriculum and then to implement it and change it across the district, you're seeing the results of all of that hard work. And it's tough to put people through that change, especially because it was right on the heels of COVID, and I don't know that we had a ton of like people's willingness, like we just barely survived that and now we have to do all this changing. You're seeing the fruits of all of their hard work. And then the students' hard work of like taking a test and doing it. So I just, giant kudos, like it's working, so happy repeat.
Yes, we
And
will do our
even
very,
looking-
very best.
Even looking at like how, well, and thank you for putting all this together as they're changing the metrics, but we can see year to year in the growth. And I know a lot of effort has gone into kind of compiling things so that we can see that these are the real numbers and it's, it is real
Well, if we benefited
growth.
from them, so did everybody else. So it's kind
Exactly,
of a
so if we're
neutral-
moving up,
Right.
then that says something, like,
Mhm.
it's not just the metrics that have changed, there's something that
Correct.
we're doing
Yep.
that is working. I think there are a lot of things that we're doing that's working, but yeah, as I'm sitting here and I'm listening to them, I'm thinking about the conversation we had my first year here. When we're just the post-COVID numbers and we're like, what are we gonna do? And so
Yes,
we
what do we
have
wanna focus on first?
yes, so, and we did, we were able to use the last of our ESSER money to, purchase the new curricular resources. And we weren't able to do the readiness that we might, have wanted to. We're like, we need to do this, here's the numbers. I think we'll see with our, our elementary social studies a little bit more, and even our elementary math, we have been able to really slow roll that a little bit more, and not so much, I think our process is very similar, and it's a very thoughtful and methodical process of reviewing curriculum and getting feedback from stakeholders, et cetera, but really set the why with teachers as well. And so I think that's the piece that we've had the gift of time a little bit more, which has been helpful. So, and this year, next year, the majority of our elementary teachers will not have any new curriculum resources. So it'll be the following year when we implement math. So that's a good thing.
Oh, great story.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you for your continued support.
Absolutely.
Our curriculum committee and board support is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all very much.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your time. We know it's a very busy time of year,
Yes.
so thanks for coming in and. Alright, so the next item up for discussion is the curriculum information in the district website. And I know this has been in the works for a while too, so.
This was an ask, I think somewhere in my second year, I believe. And we started talking about what that would look like. And we had a lot of good things in place when I came, but it was just in pockets, and there wasn't a central system for, we had Schoology, but if somebody leaves, then access for things, it's been a multi-step process
Right.
to not only gather and think about like how can we do this in a systematic manner, but also as we're rolling out new curriculum, how are we capturing, like you have the resource, but what does that look like in terms of vocabulary? What are we focusing on? What are the standards? Because the curriculum ties really well, or the curricular resource ties really well to the standards, but not exactly. It's not written for
Sure.
Wisconsin. So like how do we make sure that we're covering these standards? What are the goals for the instruction? What is the vocabulary that we're teaching? And how do we make that as transparent as possible for families, knowing that I can't just tag the textbook on a website and put it out there. Like there are copyright laws and limitations that we have to navigate through, and we want the teacher's voice to be in there. So we have spent a couple of years now, as we've been rolling out new curriculum, having teachers write what we call UBDs, or understanding by design, and it's really a design process where you start with the end in mind. What is it we want students to learn, and how are we going to get there? And that's been probably one of the biggest lifts for teachers in terms of just kind of this new curriculum, is putting it down on paper. And we
Sure.
put it down on paper once, and then we actually do it, and then we need to change it. So
So is it more like you're detailing it, so I understand, probably higher level than a daily planner,
yes.
but then more detailed than like what a syllabus is, so you're like somewhere
It's
in the middle
It's a
where you're
it's a
like by
unit plan.
units and
Yes, it's a
homework
unit plan.
exams, okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Just
so
like
it's a
exam
unit
review.
plan. Now,
Okay.
teachers, what we're putting on the website is the general plan. I've talked about, we're not putting assessments on there for obvious reasons.
Yep.
We're not putting a daily plan on there because I also want a measure of responsiveness for teachers. And I don't want them to feel like I have to do this even if my students aren't ready, because it says day 2.
Part of the assessment is you're using new curriculum, so you wanna be able to make sure that whatever you're detailing and documenting is actually working
Correct.
and achieving. So part of it would be that, hey, as you guys are trying to do that agile mindset, that is, hey, this lesson didn't hit the mark, or students didn't learn, we have to augment something.
Or this one took 2 days instead of 3.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So we wanted that level of flexibility while providing as much transparency as possible. So this, again, has been a work in progress for quite some time. People have done things now multiple times. But thanks to Laura and Casey DeLeshy, my administrative assistant, and our IT department, they have done the heavy lifting of like getting this all organized once teachers have done the work. So
Awesome.
not yet on the curriculum learning and analytics website, but I anticipate very early in the new year,
Sure.
you will see a link that says curriculum plans.
Okay.
And where do I, this one, alright.
Prettier for you.
Okay, perfect.
It'll look more legit, it looks a little more legit.
Yeah, so it looks definitely more, like, this is really a Google site that we're using.
So essentially, when you're on the district page, people will just be able to navigate wherever you put it, and then they will be able to come to this page. And
Yes.
will it be for K-12, so regardless?
Yes, so we are but it's gonna move slowly.
Okay,
sure.
I will be very transparent in that I am not asking anybody to go through and do
Do a lesson plan for the whole year.
to do a lesson plan for the whole year, or go back and do any old curriculum. So like The high school science, for example, won't have this until we go through the curriculum review, and we are just getting started with that process. So it's gonna be a multi-year process to get here.
Yep.
But this way, we have gone through this process, we have the updated resources, and I'm not asking people to do what is really a lot of summer work
Right,
to
Sure.
document all this, and then to change the curriculum in a year.
Right,
correct,
and
that's
it's
a big
forward
deal.
focused, not necessarily,
Yeah, so I just want people to know that, cause I do anticipate like, why isn't it there yet? Well, because we haven't gotten there, it's just
Do
gonna take
you
years.
plan to communicate somewhere on there about the rationale of, hey, why we're not at full inventory right now? I feel like
think
that's
so,
a good
yeah.
narrative.
Scroll up a little bit, it's in the gray, if that helps.
Oh, perfect.
There it is, yeah, see?
And that is on each page.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect. Additionally, what might be helpful to that text is if somebody does wanna see curriculum for a grade level, is there a service component where they could email or phone call somebody if they've got specific questions and content isn't available? So from a service angle, that might be nice to add out there. If it's not
We
there
definitely
already.
could do that. We also have our other curriculum page that had, other components of our page that have standards, et cetera. This is really the detailed plans, so I can click on, I think,
That's
sixth
awesome.
grade here, and you can see sixth grade, their first unit is unit 2.
Perfect.
So you can see here approximately how many days it lasts, the overview, the essential question that they're trying to answer, resources used, so the text within the resource, as well as anything supplemental that they have chosen to use.
this is huge,
This-
because again, I know that there's been a lot of
Mhm.
questions around this work, and it'll be nice to
Yes.
have that.
And then the standards, the Wisconsin state standards that are adopted that are taught in this unit, so that's a lot right there. So these are lengthy documents. The learning targets, what we want students to know, what we want them to be able to do at the end of the unit, how we might differentiate for students. So if a student needs more support, what we might use, what the extension activity could be, the vocabulary and academic language that will be taught or introduced during the unit, and that is it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you get kind of the overview of what a student will be learning in that unit.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
So
Nice.
yes. So
A lot of
I
work.
think a really positive step, but yes, I think an amazing amount of work.
Oh, you have more access than most people do, so
I
they
need
wouldn't
to
see
scroll back
that.
through and see this part. All right,
Sorry.
It's okay.
I made you. I just saw names, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's not there, but there's that. So seventh grade, et cetera. So, and then social studies is the other area that's live.
That's great.
So yeah.
Really good work.
So yes, kudos to the teachers, our coaches who have done a lot of heavy lifting here. So ELA and social studies are really the two areas that are getting ready. And then more to come.
Yep.
So we will
Nice job.
launch
Yeah.
that I think in the new year. I think we're 2 days before break, so
Yeah.
You don't know, like,
Yeah.
bury the lead as everyone's like, hey, check out our new curriculum
Yeah.
site, how come we're not getting the hits?
yeah, so and then
2 days left
nobody
in
knows. So
For
Right.
holiday break.
yeah, so we'll probably then we'll launch it after the first of the year and then make sure that it's in probably the February bulletin,
Sure.
if not before. So yeah, so I'm really excited that because it's been a work in progress for so long. So
But there's a lot of work.
But
that
there's
goes
a lot
into
of foundational work that's changed and been fluid that needs to be stabilized before I can pivot to this. And then, once people get used to the footprint that you have there from hey, this is what a baseline looks like, then it's as they're changing lesson plans or they're changing curriculum providers, then you at least know what the foothold is. You don't have to repeat what the state guidelines or baselines are unless that changes, but that's probably a little less frequent than our curriculum. So I feel like it's a lot of work to set the
Yep.
foundation, and then from that, it's just I'll say air quotes small, even though I know they change.
We do have a system set up for once a year and every summer, any updates that are made, the
Perfect.
team will go in and make those updates. So if teachers are making updates in the moment, which really would be more daily lesson plan-ish and wouldn't
Right.
impact this,
Right.
you know, parents wouldn't necessarily see that, but this should be, there'll just be an annual update, but it should be, again, it's the general overview.
Yep.
So it should be
Nice.
solid.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
yeah, I would say there was really some strong professional learning that occurred for teachers in this process. So, just having those collaborative conversations
Yeah.
about making those instructional decisions, what are those learning targets? What is the learning that's expected here and how does that show up in our daily lessons? It was all valuable work.
I'm sure it was, part of it is like you're controlling what you're teaching and frequency you're teaching it and how often, so you're aligning, so kids are coming out with the same outcomes. And even trying to get smaller teams to collaborate to agree
Right.
on some of this is probably a active
And
discussion.
on new curriculum.
Correct, with the curriculum, yes, in some
So-
cases we hadn't taught yet, which is caused the let's get something down and now, okay, now we know better, so
Yeah.
now we're gonna redo it. So it really, for ELA and social studies was really a 2-year project,
Yeah.
2-summer project.
Thanks to everybody.
So yes,
Yes.
so very proud of the teachers and teams and their work on that.
Alright. Very good.
I never
Okay.
thought they just taught students and covered lunch hours.
No,
We
they
never
do
said
love-
that, there's so
yes,
much more that they do, so
They
it's
really-
crazy to see. But this is the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't usually get the prime time or the credit, so to speak, for what they're doing when they're not actively teaching.
Right, but this is a huge amount of work, again, a lot of professional learning and really highlights, you know, like you said, no matter what sixth grade ELA hour you're in or what teacher you have, the experience will be very, very similar. With still enough room to be responsive if something isn't resonating with a group of students.
Right.
They still have that responsiveness, so it's not so prescriptive that they can't.
And then they can bring their own special flair to it.
Right, and I think that was one of the bigger goals of having the standardized curriculum and looking at the supplemental materials to a point where, again, they are all receiving the same instruction, but have the latitude to move around and take the pulse of that specific class and, very good. Alright, so our next item on the agenda is going to be just looking ahead to the committee agenda items, so anything that we need to update here, and I know that this is kind of ongoing as we
Well,
move
the only one that I
through.
thought about adding was, and it's up to you, was just before North Middle School principal left. She mentioned, hey, I would love to come back and talk about the data that they're assembling that ties together test performance with attendance and the behavior stuff, so they're kind of looking at, I would love to see that story.
Okay, yeah.
So again, I don't wanna put North under the pressure to prepare something unique. I don't know if other schools are doing it, or hey, there's another special night where we can have people, if they're doing the same thing, looking at their data on an aggregate.
Yeah, I will talk with the principals about that and see what that looks like.
And if she's the first to jump on it and then that stretches everybody else, well then let's look at what they're doing and see if it makes sense to scale it across the rest of the district, and so yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody has a process that they use for data, and, responding to student needs. But yeah, middle school's done a nice job with that. So I will talk with Kristen about that, and we've got some time. Our January meeting is definitely probably spoken for because we have the elementaries coming to
Absolutely.
do their data, so it would probably be February at the
Totally
earliest.
fine.
So-
I mean, I don't have a sense of urgency, but it's one of those where, hey, if you've got a, unique story to tell, or you're seeing some correlations and connectedness, I think it further drives why things are part of our strategic plan. It helps tell that why story better, so that's another reason I keyed into that, would be awesome.
Yeah,
I also
and
like
being new, it just, again, kind of gives that perspective of her goals as she's, obviously bringing in a lens that is from high school now to the middle school in our district, and give people an idea of kind of what her thoughts on that are.
For sure. And I mentioned Avid, that's a program that's been around for a while, but we've done some intentional work the last couple of years to kind of strengthen that. Mr. Bauer's done a great job, and Mr. Bonner has taken that over at the high school. And so I think in all of the work we've done, that isn't something that has come to curriculum committee, and I think it would be good to have that update just to hear more about what that is and to be able to highlight the work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Especially if it is leading towards the number of our students improving and being ready for whatever that next chapter is.
Yeah,
That's
I think
huge.
it is definitely a component of that,
And
so.
write it down as Avid Showcase.
Ooh, I love that word, that is actually a term that they use, so
There we go.
that is nice. But I am currently planning, if it's all right with you, for January again, the elementary's coming and telling their academic update. And then we have talent development coming as an update. And we have the post-secondary credit opportunities. We typically do that in January before that data, because it's last year data before that gets too old.
Sure.
So at least those three things are coming, so that will definitely be probably our longest meeting we've had so far this year. It'll be a full night, but I think
Sure.
some really good updates to hear,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then after that, we can kind of regroup, see where we are and what the needs are. Again, I expect elementary math to be coming in February. And we'll see what else is ready.
All right, that sounds good.
Excellent.
Anything else that you had thoughts on for that? Okay. Very good. So, let's see here, we are looking at the next committee meeting. And I was jumping ahead a little bit, was wondering, does January 15th, which is a Thursday, at 5:30 work? And we can at least get that,
It's about a week and a half after break, so I don't know if that gives your people enough time.
I think we can make it work because I've done the heavy lifting on the elementary data part. Principals just need to put in their strategies.
Do you see that?
because the WASB convention was the 21st.
And the
And,
something else, the 20th, I feel like the 28th, there was a reason.
in the 28th, well, okay, so when is, actually, I have the WASB convention on both the 21st and 28th, I can't be right, so.
And it's the 21st.
It is the 21st.
Yeah, it's the 21st.
Cause if we're thinking that we want more time, could do the 28th also.
Either of those dates work for me.
So, and then also
Yeah, I think the only potential complicating factor of the 15th is just if somebody can't make it. So the 28th does give more time. So
we can do the 28th.
Okay.
Yeah.
I personally feel more comfortable, especially with those three meaty topics.
Yeah.
That giving them more than a week's notice to prepare feels better.
They know it's coming, so they're working on the
Correct.
topics, they just don't know the date, so.
Correct, alright,
Yeah.
well, let's do
And
the
then
28th.
is 5:30 a good time for that too? If we have a lot to cover, it might be good to dive right in and get started.
Yeah, we can start earlier, and that's great.
Yeah.
That works. So
Okay,
5:30?
on the 20th.
on the 28th. Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right, thank you very much for that. And I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second. All those in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned at 7:10 PM.